Welcome to Soar Higher with Jason Ballard, a podcast developed for leaders by leaders to inspire you to reach your highest altitude possible by providing proven strategies, resources, and expert advice to accelerate your personal and professional success beyond what you thought was possible. Well, I'm Joel Weiland, and today I am joined in studio by your host, Jason Ballard, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 reasons why people are leaving their jobs. Welcome back to the studio, Jason.
Hey, man. Good to see you, Joel.
Man, it's good to see you as well. Well, we have launched into kind of a little bit of a miniature series talking about just the struggles and the things that people are dealing with adversely in their jobs. And so we had the pleasure of having Jana Donovan talking about work stress and burnout a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Last week, we were able to address just some very specific fears that all of us, whether or not we're at the very tip top of our successful path, or if we're just getting started out with our first business, we're all going to face these fears. We're all human beings. We all deal with difficulties and basically just opportunities to always overcome. But we're going to turn our attention this week a little bit more towards the executive and management issues. And the first thing we're going to be talking about is just the new world that we find ourselves in. The state of employment and keeping people engaged and essentially just retention in the workforce has completely changed. I remember getting my first job working for my dad in high school, and I felt so lucky. I was making, $20-$40 a day. My dad is a small business owner and should definitely have paid me more, obviously. But I just remember being instilled with this idea that a job was a privilege. Like, it wasn't just something that that you were owed necessarily. It's something that you had to earn. You had to work really hard. And if maybe you worked really, really hard, you might succeed. But I think something's different today. So we're coming out of the pandemic, knock on wood. Again, I'm sure that there will still be aspects of it that affect us in the workforce, but there's definitely been a little bit of a break. There's not lockdowns and stuff anymore. And we're in this thing that people have been calling the Great Resignation. So tell us just for a few minutes, Jason, your perception on what that shift in the culture has been, the workforce culture and how people view their jobs, and then also what the Great Resignation is.
Yeah, you bet. Well, boy, the dynamics have really changed over time and changed fast.
Yeah.
I remember the days working with my dad, who owned a construction company. It was all about proving yourself, working hard enough, not working fast enough. He was a hard driving guy that would push you hard, and you'd be, breaking your neck out there trying to keep up with everything and bring him tools and lumber and whatever was going on. You're just killing it, working really, really hard. And for $3.50 an hour back in the day, Joel, and being happy to have that. But those days, I think, are pretty much over. I think COVID was really this kind of nail in the coffin about how we approach the workforce and companies and employment and really how we're doing work in the 21st century. COVID really disrupted things, really got people to be thinking differently because they had to. It forced them. Either I made changes in our business, or we're going to probably go out of, in fact, a lot of people did go out of business. Yeah. A lot of people went out of business. And so it also showed this that the art of the possible was there too, in that working from home and remotely and collaboratively and new ways of doing things and approaching problems and solving challenges out there is possible. We don't physically have to be in the office every single day doing the traditional, corporate grind. And so as we came out of COVID, as people got their shots, as the infection rates and all of those bad statistics we'd see on the news every day started going down to more of a comfortable level, people started rethinking about, well, where am I in my career? I've been locked up with my family. We've been quarantining and just kind of keeping our distance, and we've been just doing things in survival mode to keep keep a job, keep food on the table, keep the business going. But time out. Does it have to be this way? Do we really have to go back?
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of powerful lessons learned out of COVID that people started thinking differently about who they are, where they are in the workforce, and what may be right for them. And those dynamics are completely different now. The dynamics of that has created what we now call the Great Resignation in our country today.
Yeah. Do you have any statistics or just any prior knowledge about like what that's actually practically looked like?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, there's so much data on this, Joel. You know, I was doing some research here recently, and here's some things I found from the Society of Human Resources and Management and from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Here's what's going on. Here's the vast scope of what's really going on. In the past 12 months alone, 47.8 million people have left their jobs.
I wasn't very good at math, but there's about 300 million people right in the U.S., and I would assume not all of them have jobs. So, I mean, that's at least probably 20 to 25% of the entire working force.
Yeah. Well, that is true. Now, here's some more statistics. The baby boomers had started rolling off the books in big numbers before COVID. Mm-hmm. When COVID happened, again, it was another trip wire that got pulled or kind of got tripped over COVID period where they're like, I don't want to go back to work. I don't want to deal with all these things. And they retired early or just went ahead and decided to retire. And so now the preponderance of people in the workforce are the millennials. Yeah. And you've got Gen Zers coming after that. So the people that are really kind of running things now, the old timers, the graybeards, as they call them, are folks in their 50s, Gen X generation like myself. Mm-hmm. And so,
I wouldn't have placed you a day over 35 though.
That's why I get that a lot, Joel. But no, I'm close to 50 myself. But a lot of people started exiting. The older generation started exiting the market. They just didn't want to deal with it. They just didn't want all the drama, the bureaucracy, and the government stipulations and all the stuff that surrounds all this. And so you saw this mass exodus going on. And so the numbers are actually worse. There's more people have left. This is just 47.8 million are just the people that didn't retire. They just left the workforce because they didn't want to work in whatever job they were in before and wanted something else different and have decided to move on. Yeah. There's some more interesting statistics here. 78% of the people in the workforce today, or that could make up the workforce, are unhappy. They are unhappy. They don't like the way it's been going. They don't like the way that their companies handled the COVID situation. Some handled them well, some didn't. A lot of turmoil. You look in the healthcare industry, really, really struggling because they took a beating with all the COVID stuff, plus all the other, needs and the medical needs that surrounded, an already taxed system. And so they had to work these long, grueling hours, couldn't get enough people fast enough, couldn't get enough systems and defibrillators and all these things to help people. And it just beat them down. It was horrible. I was recently back in South Georgia where my family's from. My mom was in the hospital, and we're talking a little county hospital here. It's not even 2 stories. It's one floor and a couple wings, and and that's it. And just walking in and out of that hospital on a daily basis for a few weeks, I mean, I looked around and it's a skeleton. There's very few people. The nurses were burnt out and tired and just kind of almost like zombies walking around doing what they were doing. But a lot of people feel that way. Yeah. A lot of people are tired and frustrated and burnt out and just tired of the old way.
Mm-hmm.
According to ABC News, Joel, only 48% of people even trust their companies.
Wow. That's so like the leadership of their companies, or just the like vision,
the leadership,
or mission?
the focus, how they do things, the culture, just in general. Compare that to where it was just prior to COVID. It was, in the 70s. Now you compare that against something else, Congress. People's trust and confidence in Congress is in an all-time low. It's hovering around 35 to 40%. So now we're going down to that level. Is if in how people feel about employment, employers, companies in general. According to the University of North Carolina, this highlights the impact this is having on people and what's driving their mindset, what's driving these changes.
Yeah, that's got to be the most important thing to understand as an employer, I would imagine, is the reason why people are doing this.
And so those things are all having adverse effects on them. With COVID, there was a health scare of being sick, being, down, being, killed, being, dying from this. And as the things have evolved, only 12% of Americans are considered metabolically healthy, mentally, physically, psychologically, holistically, are healthy. Because of the rat race and the daily churn and the hustle and the bustle of the American dream prior to COVID, and even going through COVID, people are eating out more. They're eating less fresh foods. They're not working out as much. It's just trying to survive, just trying to keep up with the Joneses, just trying to, keep up with the boss, keep the boss happy and keep the benefits going and, try to, make a few extra bucks and get a bonus at the end of the year. And it's just grind. It's ground people down.
Yeah.
Where they're not feeling good. They're not healthy. They look in the mirror. They don't like who they see as much as they used to anymore. They don't feel like refreshed. They're not sleeping at night. Only 37% of the people in the world or in our country are even getting enough sleep at night. They're getting on average 3 to 4 hours. Well, we need 7 or 8. Grinding away. And according to the Center for Disease Control, this unfortunately has resulted in an increase in suicides. You see it on the news and in the media outlets all the time as of recent, because it is growing at an alarming rate. It's causing people to kill themselves. In fact, suicide is now the second leading cause of death for people of ages 18 and 44 years old.
Man, that's crazy.
Unfortunately. That is increasing 16% per year for the past 3 years.
Wow.
And so the numbers are going the wrong direction. I think people are just digging in and saying, I've just had enough. This isn't going to work. They're starting to ask the question, what is life really about here? What's really important in life? What are my priorities in life? And am I working to live, or am I living to work?
Yeah.
And, the American way, the American dream has had people for many years, I think, living to work, trying to keep up, trying to be the next great thing and compete out there. And people are done. They're just burnt out. And other countries don't do it this way. I remember living overseas in Europe for a number of years, and I would conduct business in Italy. Those, most of the businesses there, small or big, they come in later in the morning. They work for a few hours. They go take a lunch. They take a lunch. It's nice and peaceful. It's not this, fast food, in and out, hurry, go. No, they shut the doors. They go to home, or they go to a nice place and they drink wine and they just take their time and they eat very slowly and just enjoy conversation. The Middle East is like this too. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East. they take a few hours. They come back in the afternoon, but they will stay open till 9, 10 o'clock at night. And they just live a different way. It's not hustle and bustle. And so I think America really needs to take a strong look at themselves and say, who do we want to be? What is the new American dream? It's gotten so distorted. I don't think people even really realize what that was. My parents' generation had a clear understanding of what the American dream was. Go out there, work hard, kick butt, take names, and you'll be somebody one day. Well, that's principally still true, but the world is much different, and I think the American dream means different things to people now.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. I think as business owners, as executives, there is an absolute priority to wrap your head around this. It may not be something that you have the ability to like fix overnight or something like that, but I think anyone that has led employees, owned a company, they know that training and replacing employees can be a very expensive thing, but it's natural. I mean, people will always leave their jobs, but the failure comes when there is not a recognition of what has been going on in our culture, what's been going on in the world at large, and the fact that people just may care a little bit about different things than they did before. I remember hearing just numerous reactions when people were leaving in droves for remote jobs during the pandemic. Some older people that I knew that owned businesses were like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. They're just never going to get anything done. And unfortunately, those people's businesses have in a large part shrunk over the last several years. But the people that have adapted and not viewed those things as necessarily inherently wrong have been the ones that have been able to not manipulate, not cajole people into doing something that they didn't want to, but have been able to motivate and inspire their workforce to, even at home, be productive. Sending your people home and during the pandemic didn't automatically mean that you weren't going to make a profit anymore as part of your business. So I think people really need to wrap their heads around the idea that the workforce, because of the world, has changed a lot. And there are some just very universal and fundamental truths and principles for why people leave their jobs. And we're going to talk about 5 of those today. And we're going to hear your thoughts, Jason, and ask a couple of questions about that. And this can be universally true, again, for people that work at home, for people that work in an office, for people that have come back into an actual brick and mortar building. I'm the kind of guy that needs to be working around people because I just get bored and go a little nuts if I'm behind my computer and in my sweatpants all day. But then, of course, I know friends that have worked hard and have been promoted and have done very, very well for themselves working in their sweatpants, writing code and starting businesses and things like that. But there are universal principles for why people leave their jobs. So the first one we want to talk about today is a lack of leadership. Tell us a little bit about why people leave their jobs because of a lack of leadership.
The number one reason why people leave is the perception of a bad boss. It could be a bad boss. Could be somebody that yells, hollers, screams. Could be kind of a dictator style management style. It could be somebody that's just a hard driver that just wants to squeeze every ounce of blood, effort, and energy out of somebody. It could be somebody that has unrealistic expectations. It can be somebody that's not even engaged, not even really knowing what's going on, and just bossing people and telling people what to do. In this day and age, there's a thing called digital leadership. And that is where people sit behind the desk all day in their chair, in the comfort of their chair, and send out emails and text messages and whatever. I have a few video calls, if that, but they're not engaging people. They're just tasking people through email and expecting people to track all the emails they send them and what's due and when and how and when. And there's just this lack of engagement and communication that really binds things together. And people read emails differently. You know, they can be perceived differently, understood differently, and it happens all the time. And people kind of go off, and then the boss comes out and, hey, where's that report, Joe? And Joe didn't do the report. He did something else because he understood the email differently. And all they got to do is communicate, but they don't. And then that causes problems. And Joe's like, you know what? I don't need this.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Just the fact that the leadership can be passive and bad.
Yeah.
I think most people can wrap their heads around the idea that you shouldn't be an angry ogre, you know, yelling at your employees, telling them what to do or else. But I don't know if a lot of people have wrapped their mind around that idea that just passively lobbing tasks from the background behind your computer at the end of the day probably doesn't make people feel appreciated or really pushed in the right direction.
No. People need leadership, right? So if you are in a position of leadership, the question is, are you a boss or are you a leader? Those are two separate, distinctive things. You know, bosses direct people and point fingers and go this way and do that. And leaders are out front saying, follow me, we're going this direction, right? And so if you find yourself being a boss more than you are a leader, you're probably going to end up in trouble at some point in the future if you haven't already. I just recently signed a client, a very large company, global company, and the thing they wanted me to work on was one particular individual that's been in the company for 27 years. He's mid-level management and has got some turmoil surrounding this particular employee, where he comes across rough and gruff, and his communication is really harsh. There's a lot of strong tone to it, and he's having some big challenges adapting, and it just his leadership style. He's more of an old school boss than he is a leader that's motivating and influencing people and taking people on the journey with them as a team. And so if people perceive you as a bad boss, that could be, you know, too hard, too harsh, not listening, not paying attention, not taking, you know, the recommendations of the experts on the team, not giving them time off, not saying thank you. It could be the other thing too, where they're not engaged at all. They're passive, like you were saying. Indecision is a decision. And one of the things that frustrates high-performing employees more than anything is a boss that sits on things for months, never makes a decision. I'll get to it. I'll think about it. We'll see what's going on. It just shuts down all the momentum. And people look at themselves like, you know what? I'm tired of trying. I'm tired of working my butt off to try to do the right thing when this guy doesn't even seem like he cares.
Yeah.
I don't need this.
Man, that strikes true, and I think you and I I can confidently say care a lot about the concept of leadership and what that means. So for any of you who are listening that may just be recently introduced to this podcast, we would definitely invite you to go back to some of our first episodes where Jason and I just spent a lot of time talking about the concept of leadership and why it's important to get to know your people, to care about them. Actually, not just pretend to care about them, and actually talk to them and relate with them and be a servant and an example, and just a lot of other really foundational principles that if you want to succeed in your career, in the leadership of your company, or just as a high level executive, like you need to be a good leader. And that is probably something that each and every one of us can learn a few things on. So absolutely check out those episodes. The second thing that we want to address as a reason why people leave their jobs is their work culture. Tell us a little bit about work culture and why that's important.
Yep. So either you lead or you get led.
Yeah.
That's the way the world is today. And leaders define the culture. Yeah, the employees, the surroundings, and there's a lot of things that go into the culture, of course, but it all starts with the leadership. Leadership sets the tone, leadership sets the priorities, leadership sets the vision. Does that involve other people? Yeah, but leadership's really driving, you know, where the company's going, how they're doing it, and in the overall culture as what they're going to tolerate, what they're not. Are they going to be diverse, inclusive, or not? Are they going to, support some kind of a cause? Are they going to, who is the company? What is the company defined as? What is the perception you want of people out there buying from you to be? If you are Coca-Cola, they want the perception of people to be, oh, this is a great tasting soft drink. This is fun, and all the cool people drink it, and you can't live without it, right?
Yeah.
If you buy toilet paper, the perception they want you to have, oh, this feels good. This is soft. This is, going to be gentle on you as you use toilet paper, right? And so there's perception. So what do you want the perceptions of your company to be? What's the culture? Because guess what? People talk.
Yeah.
People have phones and technology at their disposal 24/7, and they pay attention to social media. They pay attention to what people say, what they post, their reviews, the kind of the buzz of the company. If you talk about a company like Tesla, there's a lot of buzz around Tesla.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, a very, engaging guy, and just a make it happen kind of guy, kind of break the cultural norm and corporate norm kind of guy. In the process of buying Twitter, it looks like for $45 million or $1 billion, he is a groundbreaking guy that really helps set the tone of the culture.
Yeah.
And people will either gravitate to that and feel, man, I can be a part of that. I'd love to be a part of that. Google does a great job. Google does not have a problem attracting and retaining talent. In fact, there's a big long list of people that are in line to work for Google. It's because they have an amazing culture where they care about people's personal lives and professional lives and do things to support them in many, many different ways, which makes people feel like this is more than just a job where I put in my 9 to 5 and I go home.
Yeah.
People don't like that anymore.
Man, I completely agree. I'm just thinking back to, I think it was my first job in sales, and it was a fairly small company. We sold phones, and one of the most just marked expressions of health in that company was that the owner was very accessible. So I knew her. Not personally, but she would talk to me as just an entry-level employee. I think she had about 70 people working for her at the time that I got hired. And she was amazing. And one of her top level employees would be at the door at our monthly sales meeting, handing out cash, to people. And she was just very down to earth, very honest. And I remember the sales meeting where she was up in front of all 70 of us bawling because she had sold her company. And she made off, for the hills, and she deserved it because she built that company up from nothing.
Yeah.
I hope she's chilling on a beach in Florida somewhere right now. Loved that lady. But unfortunately, the company that purchased our retailer was a night and day difference. And I lasted 4 months. And the only reason why I was there that long is because I was given my own location. But there was a night and day difference between how this lovely lady treated her employees and how this newer, not all that much bigger company treated us after we were purchased. It was just an absolute night and day difference. And so the work culture absolutely changed. And I think that we can tie these two things together. It changed because of a difference in leadership. So yeah, absolutely, those two things cannot be separated, and that leads us into our third thing. Our third reason why people are leaving their jobs, even still, is appreciation or the feeling of being undervalued. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Jason?
Yeah, this is huge. People, most people are hardworking, diligent people. They want to go out there, work hard, do the right thing, an honest day's work for an honest day's dollar, the whole 9 yards. And they do. They go to work and they show up and they are diligent, and they dedicated, and they follow the rules, and they do what they're supposed to do, and they work and they work and they work, and nobody says thank you.
Yeah.
Nobody pats them on the back. Nobody recognizes them. Nobody gives them an award. Nobody gets them up in front of a crowd and says, hey, company all call, we want to highlight some people that have been going over and above, working longer hours, making some sacrifices and doing things for them. Recognize them, even the small things. You don't need to go give them tons of money, $30,000 bonuses. You don't need to promote them and give them fake titles of vice president of the broom closet to make them feel good. Yeah. It's not, and a lot of companies do that. They make up these quirky titles and try to put people on a pedestal, and they go around and it makes people feel good. Oh, I got a new business card. I'm the new VP of the broom closet. And it makes people feel good, but it's a disservice in the end. What people really want is they just want to be valued.
Yeah.
And when people don't feel valued, they feel like they're just, below the fray of where the bosses are and what's going on, and the bosses are out of touch. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody's seeing the things. All they care about is numbers and stats and, meetings and things like that. They just don't feel cared for. And then their engagement level starts waning over time. It's like, why am I here? This guy doesn't even care. He doesn't even show up and just yells. And, people need to be engaged. We're talking about people here. Whether you're on assembly line or in a tax office doing, accounting work, it doesn't matter. We're all people. We all have stories. We all have lives. We all have things that happen to us in our lives that are important. And people want to work for a place where they can be on the journey and feel part of something special. Not just there to clock in and clock out and just use you and abuse you. And a lot of people they get busy and have this expectation, well, we're paying you, compensation and benefits, and so you should just automatically you owe us this. And that is completely the wrong attitude. Yes, the person needs to meet their end of the obligation and do the things they were hired to do, and most people do. And if they don't, then you work that out. But when they keep showing up and they're still positive and strong and out there serving the customers and doing the things that need to be done, especially going through different challenging times that we've been through, they need to be engaged.
Yeah.
And so when people feel like they're being taken for granted, they start checking out.
Oh, yeah.
They start checking out.
Yeah, and I just even saw somewhat recently just the idea about requesting things, of seeing the importance of not just assuming people will do something, or even just demanding from a distance, saying, hey, well, this is what you've got to do, but just taking the time to go and to get down and to ask them, like, hey, would you be willing to do this? It's technically part of your job, but would you be willing to do it anyway? And just that trust and that ability to communicate well and humbly and like a human being really does go a long way to not separating yourself as a boss or a manager or an owner, 15 light years away from your workforce, but showing them that you're a normal person and that you're all on the same team. You may be the leader of your team, but as the leader of the team, you're willing to get down and actually ask people to be on that team with you. I think that makes a huge difference. Yeah. This is a really interesting one. Number 4, the thing we want to look at for why people leave their jobs is that people aren't challenged. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is another big one. People want to grow. They want to succeed. They want to be their best. They want their boss to say, wow, great job this week. Man, you knocked that one out of the park. But often people come to the table and they have that many skills. And the company uses that many skills. They don't fully understand everything about the employee and what they can bring to the table. It's like, well, we need you to do A, B, and C, and so you can come in and according to your resume, you can do A, B, and C. So here, go in the corner in the cubicle and do A, B, and C, and we'll check in with you next week and see how things are going. And they do that, they get good at it, then they've got ideas. Well, maybe we can shorten that process from A, B, and C to A and B.
Yeah.
Maybe we can be more efficient. Well, hey, I've gotten to be pretty good at this job, probably a subject matter expert after a period of time. People are talking about this could be better if we did it this way. They start seeing things, they start noticing things, they start putting ideas out on the table, and they're willing to do it. They're willing to be the change agent, and people shut them down.
Yeah.
People, I've worked with so many people that have, like a master's degree doing like a mid-level management thing, way more qualified. They hire in at a certain level. And if you work hard and you prove yourself, you may have opportunities to move up the food chain. That sounds great, but people sometimes die on the vine because they can do more.
Yeah.
They have management capabilities. They have insight or subject matter expertise in something that may be a little bit different than what they're, supposed to do every day. And leadership's not engaged enough to recognize that, and connect people to the needs of the company, to even be ahead of the needs of the company. Seeing industry trends, there's an industry trend now where people are personalizing things. It's not cookie cutter stuff anymore. It's personalized services to you. You log into Amazon, their model is, hey, 3 clicks or less, you're in and out, and you've bought whatever you want to buy. It's personalized to you. You log in, it says, hey, Jason, welcome back to Amazon. Yeah. Here are the top 5 recommendations based on your buying habits that it's.
Yeah, YouTube knows exactly what I want to watch.
Exactly, right? I mean, you even get targeted on social media marketing and internet marketing based off of what you're clicking on and doing. And all of a sudden everything's being customized and tailored to personalized services, where you're learning more about the customer, you're learning more about the employee base and how they work and operate, and artificial intelligence and data and all the analytics that go into that. That is the future, and so recognizing that people have a lot of talents and skills and knowledge, capitalize on it, engage them. Get to know them. And a lot of times they just see it very black and white. Well, we hired you to do A, B, and C, so go over there and sit in the corner and do an A, B, and C. And if you need something, let us know. And it's a job.
Yeah.
It's not a career.
Tell me if you've seen this, and this is just, I've only seen this in a couple limited experiences, but it seems like sometimes when management or, just people in higher level positions don't put avenues where people are challenged. Some people, and unfortunately that there probably are these people in every job, just they get a little lazy, they get a little complacent, and then you've got either a new guy or just someone that really wants to succeed, that's able to challenge themselves, sees that person is being allowed to be lazy and not challenged. It just takes a lot of the wind out of their sails that I've seen. Can you speak to that at all? Is that something you've seen?
One of the biggest downfalls in leadership is the inability to see things in people that they don't see in themselves.
That's good.
And challenge them. Look for these opportunities to give them a pet project. Give them an effort to work on that's going to stretch them and challenge them and motivate them and maybe even frustrate them a little bit, right? Get them out of their comfort zone. And give them opportunities to fail. Give them opportunities to grow and learn. And even if they fail, even if they don't succeed to the level that they potentially could the first time around, at least you're giving them opportunities to excel. People crave that. People want that, and people appreciate that. Sometimes, and I look back at my career, there are people that I recognize some talent with, and I gave them, quote unquote, opportunities to excel, meaning I gave them an additional duty, or I had them do their normal job and then had them go off and do some other things, some kind of special project or something I thought that was important that we needed done. And they had certain people skills or technical skills that were really, really good suited for that. and they were kind of in their comfort zone. They had been there, settled a little bit, and it was time to move them. It was time to shake some things up for them. And they, well, I don't know, man. I don't know. Do you think I'm capable? And there's some hesitating. Like, you're fine. Just go out there, do this, and figure it out. And you've got all the flexibility to kind of create it, make it your own, and come back and let me know how this goes. Let's iterate through this. Let's work through it. And motivate them through that process and encourage them through that process. And they gain that confidence over time to where it's whatever there is that they're doing today that they weren't doing yesterday is now some new habit and new strength they didn't even know they had.
Yeah.
And over periods of time, over months and years, that accumulates into, wow, I was on this path to go this way, but oh my gosh, 14 more doors opened up over here due to these things that we've been working on that I never even thought I could do. And it opens up a whole new world for people, and the art of the possible just blows them away.
Yeah, man. And that goes back to one of our foundational leadership principles, that leaders replace themselves. They find other people, they identify other people that may even have skills that they don't have, and are able to inspire and motivate those people to reach their next level. Well, lastly, the reason why people leave their jobs is a lack of development, a lack of next steps, whether that be promotion or progress. Tell us a little bit about how that causes people to want to leave their jobs.
People need leadership every single day. That doesn't mean you come around and boss them around, tell them what to do, and crack the whip on them every day, but they need to see the leadership. They need to see the engagement. They need to kind of be spoon-fed what's going on and what's happening, what's good and what's not so good, and be part of the team. And so where people get frustrated is when there's a lack of leadership and a lack of communication around the leadership that says, and the company's going this way. Yeah, it's great at the Christmas time when everybody kind of closes up the books and pays out the bonuses and does everybody's annual appraisal. And then the question is like, okay, great. So what's next? And the question in people's minds always are, well, we just completed this project. So what's next? Where are we going? What does success look like? And people want hope. They want to know where they're going and what it's for and why we're doing it and why it's important and what impact you're making, right? And a lot of leaders make the mistake of because they're in that world more than a lot of the employees are, that they assume because they are talking about some of those things that everybody knows. And more times than none, that's not the case. You've got to engage. You've got to be showing people a path forward and where they fit in, how you need them to connect to help them realize that vision and what their specific goals are to help contribute to that team so everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction at the same time. People need to grow and develop. If there's a point where people are going into work and they have no idea where the company's going, why they're doing what they're doing, they're just in there doing tasks every day because somebody told them to do a task, and they don't feel like they have an opportunity to grow in the company, and there's not an opportunity to be promoted or to learn some different things and be challenged and to evolve and maybe meet some of their personal and professional needs, they are out.
Yeah. Oh, and it makes me think back to some of the statistics that you were sharing at the beginning of just people not trusting the leadership of their company. And then this is a statistic from 2019, so it is a little bit dated. But only 25% of employees feel connected with their company's vision, with the reasons behind why.
That's still true today.
Why they're asked to work. Oh, I'm sure it's potentially even worse as we've gone through COVID, and so many people have made decisions based off of just their bottom line, whether that be fear of getting through the pandemic, or in some unfortunate cases, just maybe a little bit of greed on making as much money, wringing as much of profit as they can out of their employees. People have absolutely left in droves. So all of these reasons, friends, are just very important checks that you can make in your own leadership of the employees under you, and maybe even you could bring these things up to the people on top of you if you see areas of failure or just ways that you could challenge the people around you. Make sure that you're putting your people first, because I think that's really what's going to keep your company going in the long run. Well, we're about out of time, Jason. But just as we wrap up, give us some good news. Give us some solutions or just some really practical advice about how people can look at these 5 areas of failure, but then find some places where they can succeed in either retention or just connecting with their workforce.
Yeah. Zig Ziglar, I think, said it best, Joel. The real opportunity for success lies within the person, not the job.
That is good.
The real opportunity for success lies with the person, not the company, not the job, not the title. I want to challenge the leaders out there today. Are you innovative? Do you understand the needs of people today? Because people are the business.
Yeah.
Products and services are great. That's what you sell. That's what you make money off of. That's what pays the bills. And you need to sell those things for sure. But nothing happens without people.
Yeah.
People, if you don't have people, those things don't get sold. You don't have people to collect the money, your business goes bankrupt.
Yeah.
If you don't have people to deal with the customers and ship the products and services around the world to the people that are buying it from you, you're out of business again. Every single thing about business really revolves around people. So if you're out there and you're a leader, I ask you to take a look at yourself, and are you a leader of the future, or are you a leader stuck in the past?
That's a really good question.
So what does a leader of the future need to be? Well, you cannot run a company, and you cannot run and lead and manage people the same exact way. I would encourage you to, do some research on, situational leadership models. Reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you and show you some things around that. People are different, and they have different needs. Generationally, they're different. Gen Zers, millennials, Gen Zers, the Gen X's, the baby boomers, generationally are different. Men and women are different. There's cultural differences. Everybody's different, and you can't just kind of generically spread peanut butter across the bread here and manage and lead people in a very generic way. You have to be. In fact, it's a must. It's a requirement to be successful. You have to get out in front and lead people in a very dynamic way. What needs to happen for you, your team, to perform at their best? What needs to happen? What constraints do we need to get out of the way? What type of work environment do you need? What kind of culture do you need? What needs to happen? What kind of things do we need to set up around you and your team to make everybody the most successful as possible? And we've got to do those things. And so one thing you can do as a leader is engage. Get up, walk around, and talk to people. Well, if you got people working remotely, great. Get on a Zoom or get on Teams and ping people, text people, message people, and say, hey, it's your boss checking in with you. How are things going today? Not in a micromanaging, I'm spying on you kind of way, because that's going to put people off and they're not going to trust you. But hey, I had some time in between meetings, was just thinking about you guys on the team today, and you guys are doing a great job. How are things going? Let's talk for a few minutes. What can I help you with today?
Recognizing the humanity of the people that
just
work
saying
with.
thank you, just reaching out, just engaging, and whatever their needs are. If they need encouragement, if they need, a few bucks to buy something, if they need a tool, if they need some software, if they need some training or whatever they need, just help problem solve it and keep them working and engaged.
It's going to make them feel valued and probably challenged.
Valued, challenged, always be looking to take people to the next level, which means you got to be engaged to know what's going on and how they're performing individually and collectively, so you know how to challenge them on the right thing. You just don't want to throw a bunch of stuff at people and hope they figure it out. No, it's got to be the right kinds of things that is challenging for them, that is interesting to them, that's going to help them achieve their personal and professional goals. I think another thing is creating a dynamic culture, not one culture where everybody has to do these 10 things and that creates our culture, but a dynamic culture in which everybody feels welcomed and appreciated and valued, right? That can mean some people are motivated by, they work, for 4 weeks straight and they get a day off. They just need an extra, day to just kind of relax and recover, do some personal things. Some people are motivated by money. Some people are motivated by a lot of different things. Create a culture to which people can excel in the ways that they can excel. Some people are in situations where they have to work from home. If it's, administrative and they can do that, if it's physically, logically possible for people to work from home and they need to, then figure out a way to make that happen. Because you can keep them engaged, keep them excited, and they can fulfill those needs. If you need to come in for a meeting, then iron that out. But create a culture that allows people some flexibility. People want autonomy. Yeah. They don't like to feel controlled and everything, they got to everybody gets put in a shoebox and is the same. They're not. Everybody's going through different things at different times. And not that you have to, have 14 million policies for everybody in the company. That's not what I'm saying from an HR perspective. I'm saying companies need to delegate and empower their people at levels beneath them that's in accordance with their policies to adapt and adjust with their people as they need to get the best out of them and to keep them motivated and encouraged and going forward. And I think simply one of the last things you can do is show value. So I'm going to ask the leaders out there, what types of things are you doing to show people, not tell people, show people you value them, you appreciate them, they mean something to you. What they do is important. Who they are is critical to success in the company. Where they're treated like family, where they're treated and welcomed and things they're doing are recognized, not on a spreadsheet, not in an accounting line, but just engaged in a way where there's a personal connection and you can look eyeball to eyeball and say, Joel, you have worked your tail off this week for this company. I recognized you worked 80 hours. Great job. We got it done. It was a tough project to move out on. Take Monday off. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah. Man,
I love you.
those practical things really go the longest way. And yeah, for those of you listening that maybe just you may view yourself as a run-of-the-mill employee, or you may, have 500 people under you. Each and every one of these principles is going to be absolutely essential for you as you grow personally in your success as a leader, and as you care for the people under you, because absolutely what Jason said was correct. You may have a product or a service and you got to sell those things. But at the end of the day, your people are your greatest resource.
That's right.
Anything else that you'd want to just tell people to inspire them in this before we sign off?
Well, I'd be remiss as a coach, especially the type of coach I am, times are tough right now. There's a lot of change going on. There's a lot of dynamics in play with the Great Resignation and COVID and recovering and moving forward. And, we've got some things going on in the global, aspects with some countries, going to war with each other. We've got inflation. We've got a lot of things going on that's really challenging, people and companies and their careers. And so I want to encourage everybody to be positive, to be strong. Yeah, there are some things going on in the world, but there's always things going on in the world. There's always somebody in the world not getting along. There's always some crisis on the news or some breaking news that something crazy happened. And it's just always going to be there. That's the nature of it. So I would encourage you to kind of moderate that, or even turn some of that stuff off to where it's just not constantly going in your brain all the time with this negativity and the end of the world and, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're going to be fine. We're America. We're a great, strong country. We're always going to be strong and great. It's because of the people, the American spirit. And we're just going through a kind of a national transition of who we are, where we're going, what we're doing, and what success looks like, and redefining America. And so stay strong, stay positive, and just find ways to learn and grow and adapt. Use this as an opportunity to connect with other people and coaches and experts out there that have gone through these kind of things. The things we're going through are not new. Yeah, they have the title of the Great Resignation. We've probably never had that before. Yeah, we've had a pandemic. Well, we've had other pandemics in the past. We've had other, things that ran rampant in our society that caused problems. It's just another form of disruption with a different name. We will survive. We will move forward. And so stay strong, stay positive. We're a great nation, and, just rely on each other and bring the teams together. When you go through the toughest, darkest days, that's the time to bind together and really appreciate and value what each of us bring to the table as unique individuals, and how to make that work together to achieve these common goals and objectives. We can and we will win, and we will go forward. And I'm just very optimistic about the future, and I hope you are too. So get out there and lead and do the things that you need to do differently to prevent people from going through one of those 5 steps and reasons of why they leave. Don't give them a reason to leave.
Yeah,
and absolutely. They won't.
Man, couldn't agree more, Jason. And that's all for us today. So thank you very much for listening to the Soar Higher Podcast with Jason Ballard. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. All of our social links will be in the show notes, so please like and subscribe. We're always looking for new topics and new ways to interact with you, our listeners. So if you got something that you want us to talk about in the realms of leadership or just something really practical, please reach out. We'd love to talk to you. If you're interested in learning more about Jason and his work as a business and executive coach, please visit soarhighercoaching.com. That is soarhighercoaching.com. Join us again next week as we provide more insight on how to overcome the latest business and career challenges people are facing in the workforce today. We'll see you next time.